metal pan or metal pot A. So a triple beam balance. Here you should have safety goggles, enough for every single person in your group. Beaker B, a large beaker. And the purpose of the large beaker is to help to fill beaker B with exactly 150 milliliters. Make sure you go to this one, not that one, this one. A digital thermometer. When you're done with it, you put it back in its protective sleeve. Our mystery metal. And the mystery metal does have some sticky tack, or maybe I'll try and put some tape on it to kind of keep you from seeing what it's called, because it does have the symbol on the end. And then this string is used to help hold the metal. So this will be very helpful when you have to dip it into the pan later on. This little booklet is going to be key for knowing what to do. First, there is a page that has a little bit of the background on each of our suspects, the same information that you saw in the video. Then there's instructions, which we read together as a class, but it does have this helpful chart about the different metals and their specific heat capacities. Next is the list of materials that we've gone over, and then the steps start. Step 1 says read the directions provided to you. That's what we had already done. The investigation coordinator would check off step 1 on their sheet. Step 2 is to label the beakers. Again, I've already done that. A is the pot and B is that beaker there. And then fill the metal pot about a third full of water and heat the contents until boiling. About a third or just a little less than a half is fine. Turn the knob. Now I would recommend going ahead and putting it somewhere between medium and high, and then once it starts boiling, we'll turn it down just a little bit. Now, don't stick the thermometer directly in there. A lot of people want to stick the thermometer directly in there. Instead, every so often, you can, test the water temperature and see where it's at, or you can wait until it's boiling and then test the water temperature, okay? Because we're gonna wait till it's boiling no matter what. While you wait for metal pot A to reach boiling, follow the procedures in step 3. You are going to mass the empty beaker B. So we're literally taking beaker B, empty, and getting a mass. Okay? The next step, I believe, says to fill this with 150 milliliters of water. This is where we're going to use our large beaker. Pouring it in here. Now, I want to make sure that it's getting as close to that line as possible. So here it's a little bit less. Okay, that's pretty close. All right, once I have it full now with 150 milliliters, I mass it again. Once I get a mass, my next job is to find out what was the mass of the water that I added. And so I only want to find the mass of the water. To do that, I take this mass and subtract what the empty beaker was, and that's what I record on my data sheet for letter A. Okay. Next, record the temperature of the water in beaker B and record it in your student data sheet. So I'm going to take my thermometer and I'm going to record the temperature of my water in degrees Celsius and place that in letter B. Mass of the metal, that's easy. I can just take this, put it on the triple beam balance and get a mass. Record that in letter C. Let's see here. So initial temperature of the metal. What's the next one? Once the water In the metal pot A is boiling to 100 degrees Celsius. Place the metal into the water and allow it to heat for 3 to 5 minutes. Okay. So I'm gonna let this in here, and I know my water's not quite boiling yet, but we're gonna pretend that it is. Okay, so hopefully that doesn't happen to you. If it does, raise your hand. But I would let this heat up for 3 to 5 minutes, and then at the end of 3 to 5 minutes, I'm gonna record the temperature of this boiling water, and that, I'm assuming that the metal and the water are the same temperature, and that is what I put here for initial temperature of metal, D. Next, remove the metal from the boiling water and place it into beaker B. So what I'll need to do here is get the metal out of there, very carefully using that string, and place it into this beaker and let it sit there for 30 seconds. Then I measure the new temperature of the water in beaker B. So once that metal has been in here for 30 seconds, I measure this temperature again. Okay. When I'm measuring the temperature again, I want to make sure that my thermometer is not touching anything, just the water. That's very important. Okay. So when I'm measuring that new temperature of the water in beaker B, that new temperature is what we call the final temperature of water and also the final temperature of metal. So whatever I just got here, that's going to be recorded in E and in F. It's going to be the same thing. E and in F have the same thing. For step 7, we are calculating the change in temperature. So how much it changed both the water and the metal. Okay, so I'm going to take the final temperature of water minus the initial. So final temperature of water minus the initial temperature of water. And so just subtract and get a total here, or sorry, a difference here. Change in temperature of metal. So final temperature of metal minus initial temperature of metal, and put that here as well. And that is all of my experimental data. After that, you move into some calculations and then come up with some conclusions, and there's a little bit of an extension problem for you. Okay? Good luck.